From podcast The Lotus Eaters, Rupert Lowe, sitting down in an exclusive interview with Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad, talking about how they won Great Yarmouth. Restore Britain did really good in recent elections. So did Reform. But Reform is really just the new uniparty. The future belongs to Restore Britain. And this right here, this is the only man who can lead Britain out of darkness. Nigel Farage, he's not the man for the job. Something to add to the billions of tabs. I resemble that remark. Fat Electrician's video on Sriracha. We can probably get to it tonight. I'm planning on going late. So, let's see. Fat Electrician. Oh, here we are. Sriracha. What happened to the original source? The hot sauce empire that self-destructed.
I'm slowly coming to—
You know what? We'll get to it. But first, I want to hear what Rupert Lowe has to say about the Banner Night, especially for his constituencies, for his constituents in Great Yarmouth. Let's take a look at this video.
Hi folks, I have the pleasure to once again interview Rupert Lowe after his superb victory in Great Yarmouth. Before we begin, I just want to say that I'm a member of Restore Britain.
Okay, welcome in.
I'm a local organiser in Swindon for Restore Britain. So this is a friendly interview, just laying my biases on the table there.
That's really good and transparent of him. Also, yeah, Lotus Eaters, many of their contributors, including Sargon of Akkad here, yeah, they're all in for Restore Britain, and they disclose that on the daily with every episode that, yeah, they're either getting involved or they're highly sympathetic to Restore Britain, and yeah, it's fantastic. Also, can I just say, this saber is beautiful, but I am loving this woodblock wall sculpture of the Union Jack. I think I need this in my life. It is quite lovely. I've seen them for sale online. Rather expensive, but damn, that looks good. That's a heck of a mantle they got on that set. Yes, and they don't even have a proper fireplace, but it still looks great. My country on the table again, I see. Lol, yes. Yes, we're talking British politics, and we're seeing what sort of victory speech we got here from Rupert Lowe.
But Rupert, what a great victory.
Well, Carl, firstly, let me say what a pleasure it is to be back at Lotus Eaters. I was a bit disappointed when I asked everybody outside whether they were causing enough trouble, and they didn't seem to give me a very definitive answer. But
we're very good boys. I don't know why you would think that.
It's very good to be here.
And they have lapel pins, apparently. Sargon wearing a Restore Britain lapel pin. I might need one of these lapel pins. I don't wear a suit too often, but I might need one of these lapel pins too. I do like lapel pins.
Yeah, after, as you say, I think a historic win in Great Yarmouth for Great Yarmouth first. And what we've done, I think...
Restore Britain itself was not specifically on the ballot, I think. It was a local political party called Great Yarmouth First. But they are affiliated with Rupert and with Restore Britain.
And we should give credit, first of all, to the people in Great Yarmouth, the voters, who believe in what we're doing. They're fantastic people. We had to go east to find real people.
Lovely people.
What we're doing. They can see what we're doing.
The next time I go on holiday back to Britain, I want to pay a visit to Great Yarmouth. I'm told that they actually have a rather charming little amusement park, similar in nature, kind of small and cozy. I think you could compare it to something like the Santa Monica Pier or the Pleasure Pier in Galveston, Texas. You know, something small with like a Ferris wheel, a little roller coaster, some places you could, buy some sweets or something like that. It's right there on the beach, I believe. I know there was a video that Rupert had on his X page talking about it. When springtime came, and it was just kind of a Chamber of Diplomacy type entry, but he said, yeah, if you're thinking about a holiday somewhere, why don't you come to my constituency here in Great Yarmouth? We've got lots of nice things, lots of fun things for the whole family, and you'd have a good time. And I looked at the video, I'm like, yeah, you know what? That didn't look half bad. I could go in for that sort of thing, yeah. So, yeah, definitely going to have to pay a visit to Great Yarmouth next time I'm across the pond.
We asked 9 people who've been in business, who've been in other professions, who've actually contributed to their local community, all from Great Yarmouth, and they were from outside politics. So the model has been proved now in Great Yarmouth. And these 9 people, brave, put themselves forward, campaigned along with us.
Oh, Raiders, welcome in. Countess Rose, good to see you. How was your stream? Raiders, if it's your first time here, I'm Lord Rexworth. I'm an English nobleman Vtuber. And we are just reacting to the news. We talked a lot about American news in the first half of this segment. Now we're moving on to British politics, reacting to an interview by Rupert Lowe with Carl Benjamin Sagan-McCad from podcast Lotus Eaters, talking about really good election night recently for Restore Britain and Great Yarmouth First. It's about an hour long. I don't know if we're going to watch the whole thing, but we'll get through as much of it as we can. But yeah, how was your stream? Everyone make sure you please go follow Countess Rose. Let's see, you're playing Keeper. That's excellent. That is excellent. I've never played Keeper before. Don't know what it's all about. But I'm sure if you were playing, it was a lot of fun. Oh, also, by the way, up on the YouTube channel, everyone, at Lord Rexworth VT, highlights from recent collab with Countess Rose, both playing together the visual novel and dating sim I Love You, Colonel Sanders. It was a fun time. A bit awkward in some parts, only because some of the dialogue is cringe, but still fun. It was good. I was a lighthouse for the pet bird thing, so you were like a pirate, except you didn't have a pirate ship, you just have a lighthouse. Or you're the lighthouse, but you want to be a pirate because you got the pet bird, asking that fundamental question, can a lighthouse ever self-identify as a pirate? Or can a pirate ever self-identify as a lighthouse? These are the questions and the mysteries of the ages. She was a walking lighthouse. That sounds like it's possible nightmare fuel. I'm not gonna lie. Unless, of course, you're some sort of transformer. A lighthouse that transforms into a giant robot, in which case that's pretty cool. I mean, if it's just a lighthouse with little stick figure arms and legs, I don't know, sounds a bit silly, but I'm sure it will. It was very Miyazaki. Okay, so it was a lighthouse with little stick figure arms and legs. But I guess as long as it's Miyazaki, then as long as it gives Miyazaki vibes, I guess that's all right. That's not quite nightmare fuel. But yeah, sounds like fun. Hopefully you had a fantastic stream. Raiders, if you need to raid and run, I totally understand. But yeah, do exercise the usual after stream care. Get up and stretch, grab something to eat, something to drink. And yeah, kick back and relax with us as we watch and react to interview with potentially the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Rupert Lowe. If pirates identify as ninjas and ninjas identify as pirates, how will we find out who is better? A duel to the death? It was very Howl's Moving Castle. Oh, okay. Okay, so more of a kind of floating, moving, but not so anthropomorphic lighthouse. Interesting. I may have to put that on the Amazon wish list. I might have to play that. I mean, we've already got the stream title. It's the perfect stream title if I were to play it. I self-identify as a lighthouse. Take that, Apache helicopters. Anyway, let's keep going with the video.
And we have effectively shown what model locally can work, which we can then roll out nationally. But I should say the most exciting thing for me was that we saw huge numbers of people from all over the country come to help us canvass. So on the Friday, I was blown away. We had 500 people from all over the country. And then on the Thursday of Election Day, we probably had 400. They'd all traveled to Great Yarmouth. As you know, it's not the easiest place to get to. I had people from Inverness, Aberdeen, somebody driven down from Aberdeen.
People driving down all the way from Scotland. That's not an easy journey. Whether you're coming down by automobile or especially taking the train. That's a long journey for a lot of people in the UK. Not an easy one either. So the fact that they are willing to drive down from Scotland to help in Great Yarmouth, that's saying something. This man has inspired something incredible from a lot of people, which is why it's little surprise so many people are thinking he could be the next PM, because he's got that energy. He's got that order. He's got those vibes about him. And he really just seems like a man of the people. He really has become Britain's Cincinnatus. He really has. Which those of you who don't know who Cincinnatus is, just goes to show you, we men, we think about Rome a lot. Cincinnatus was a man who was drafted into service for the Roman Empire not once but twice, because each time he would leave and they'd just make a pig's breakfast of everything. And each time he would set things right. Finally, he was just an old man who wanted to spend his final days tending to his farm, and he did. But he was quite an indispensable man in his time. I think Rupert Lowe is really shaping up to be quite the indispensable man in his own right. He's the man we need for number 10, because he does what he says he's going to do, which is a rare quality in a lot of politicians these days, no matter what side of the pond you're on. And isn't there an entire body of water between Scotland and the UK? Some parts of it, I mean, I think if you head up to the Isle of Skye, then yeah, there are some parts of Scotland that, yes, they are separated by a body of water. So yeah, for some people, I imagine they would have to take a ferry, and then they would have to drive down to Great Yarmouth. An English pilgrimage, indeed. Well, Scottish pilgrimage, to be more precise. Really need a change for the better. We really do. Britain has been through enough. This malaise era that we are in, we've suffered long enough. Something just has to give here. This cannot go on.
Had people from Fife, from Glasgow, from Liverpool, Leeds. Always got to have a Scouser or two.
You had people from our offices.
From
Some
people
of my
from
chaps
your
came
offices.
People
we
from
had people
their
Devon,
offices, the podcast Lotus Eater's office has been located in Swindon. The Western Hemisphere has been through enough. Yes, true and real. True and very real. We have been through enough, and we kind of just have everything fatigue right now. Forget about, black fatigue or brown fatigue or migrant fatigue or anything else. It just, we are all just kind of suffering from the everything fatigue, and we need it all to stop now.
Cornwall, from Sussex, from the Midlands. We had real people, and they feel passionate about what we're doing. So they came and helped.
Yes, insanity fatigue. There it is.
Real people working with real people, and Great Yarmouth were voting for real people. So I think this is a historic result for Great Yarmouth, basically for Great Yarmouth. We should give Great Yarmouth credit. They are great people. Because Great Yarmouth first, I think I should say, Great Yarmouth has shown first how it can be done. And
that's a test case.
Look, it's really exciting, and it's had virtually no media coverage whatsoever. I mean, to win...
No. People don't seem to realize. I mean, we know for damn sure, BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5... Channel 5 still do news? I don't think they do. ITV, Sky News, they just have a near complete media embargo on anything to do with Restore Britain. GB News especially. Mainly because who's got the primetime show on GB News? Nigel Farage of rival party Reform. And so I think they had a recent row where they kind of broke the embargo, and you had, who was it? Jacob Rees-Mogg from the Tories also has a show on GB News, sitting down and interviewing Rupert Lowe, and they cut a portion of the interview out, and it took Restore Britain posting that up on their social media page, up on X, before anyone would acknowledge oh yeah, we edited this. It was for, advertising purposes or whatever. It was like, no, you didn't. You didn't edit it for brevity or for the adverts or anything like that. You edited out something that was important, that established context, that would have made Rupert Lowe look good at the expense of Nigel Farage. They don't like what they can't control. No, they don't. And no one really controls Restore Britain, except for, the leadership and Rupert Lowe.
10 out of 10 seats, 9 county council seats and a borough council seat. And the two stats we should talk about. The first one is the fact that turnout was 60% higher than in the same vote in 2021.
Morecambe-based bird.
22, whatever
It was 21,
22,
where it was
21,
29%.
21, I think it was.
Yeah.
So 60% up. So this is people who've not been engaged with politics before. That's the exciting thing. So you could actually halve the vote we got for every candidate and we'd still win.
Yeah, so I wanted to dig into the numbers a little bit because this was particularly...
That's a mogging. That is an overwhelming, decisive victory at the polls. That's incredible.
Fascinating. So, I mean, to begin, I saw arch critics of Restore claiming, and obviously a critic is inclined to minimize numbers, and they had to admit, well, there were probably 350 local activists on the ground. And for a local election, I've never heard of such a thing. That is a huge number. And even if it's so somewhere between 350 to 500, what you're estimating, that's an almost absurd number of people canvassing in one constituency over a series of wards.
I think it's...
Well, hang on. Because like that's a huge amount of energy that has been summoned up and a huge amount of belief that went into it. And then to win by the margins that you won, to get an average turnout of something like 47% across the ward is incredible because, I mean...
Hard to do. Hard to get 47% when you don't just have 2 or 3 parties. There's a handful that you're dealing with in UK politics. And so to get that much, that's no small feat. After seeing some recent news from Chibi Reviews, I'm convinced the UK and payment processors just racist to Japan at this point. I mean, that would probably be a good way to sum it up. Payment processors, we know they don't really like dealing with any sort of 18 plus content or stuff that might be rated R18, particularly if, you go in for things like hentai and yaoi and yuri. You may not like it, but it's not illegal. It's like if they have a problem with that, I don't see any of them blocking the sale of more traditional pornography. It's like, why aren't they blocking the sale of things like Playboy magazine or Hustler? It's like, oh, because it's Japan and it's not part of the protected class of adult content. So you're banning it. And also because of questionable interpretations around UK laws about drawn adult images. It's just so ridiculous. They're just fucking drawings. They are just fucking drawings, man. That's all they are. They can't hurt you. It's all fiction. And if you think that they are somehow a bigger threat than, I don't know, the rape gangs that are still not really being addressed in the UK, you've got some fucked up priorities. You really do. You really do. And I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear these people talking about their desire to ban adult content or, criminalize lolicon imagery or anything like that. I don't want to hear it. If that is what makes you spurg out, but you are just completely and totally numb and no response from you about the rape gangs, just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. You have absolutely fucked up priorities, and we don't need to be hearing from someone like that or taking them seriously. An extremely controlled environment, no less. 47% is huge, yes. Always starts with only for this certain thing, then they slowly add more and more crap to it. Yeah, it's why the thing that pisses me off, people calling it a fallacy, the slippery slope. It's not a fallacy, it's a real fucking thing, and it happens every goddamn time. Oh yeah, skew priorities fatigue, yes. I'm quite fatigued with the fucked up priorities of some people.
It's a local election. Normally they have about 30% turnout, as they did in 2021, as you say. But then to win by such margins, the average percent of the vote in each of these 9 wards was 46%. I mean, it's hard to imagine a more... it was a cavalcade, a complete rout.
But it was, and the exciting thing was, as I say, we got the support from everybody, and in time they'll probably have their local elections, and I'm sure assuming other people have got the time, they'll go and help them, and we've proved the model. That's the exciting thing. But the point I always get accused of is, oh, you're going to split the vote. No, we're not splitting the vote.
No.
What we're doing is we're bringing people back to politics who've given up on the way in which Britain is governed.
Because they finally see someone like Rupert Lowe, and they see Restore Britain, and they see hope. They see hope for the first time in a long time. And where there's hope, the people will be energized and they'll show up. Funny, I just realized he also proved voting independent can work. In theory, yes. I still think, to a certain extent, it's still a bit apples and oranges between American politics and UK politics. UK politics is structured such that it is possible to have multiple political parties, not just two, like Labour and Tories. You can have other political parties, and they can potentially win. And I mean, as we've seen with the massive losses from Labour, they are becoming an endangered species. Not so much in American politics, because the way things are structured, even sometimes on the state level, it is legally impossible in some places for a third-party candidate to even appear on the ballot. There's some places where they won't let you get on the ballot for any form of election unless you identify as a Republican or a Democrat. And it's wrong. Fundamentally, it's wrong. We do need more choices out there, because just so often there's no difference between Republicans or Democrats. Oftentimes it's just Republicans are just Democrats going the speed limit, and they're a few decades behind, which is why I say they're never going to beat the allegations they are just the uniparty. And in the case of Reform over in the UK, with so many defections from the Tories over to Reform, and even some from Labour, though not so much, they have effectively just become the new uniparty. I'm half expecting Kimi Badenoch to just jump ship any day now. I don't think it'll happen, but it's just looking at the roster of who's in Reform versus who's in the Tories versus who's in Labour. Not much conceivable difference between any of them. Reform might as well just change the name to the Uniparty at this point. Recently saw a quote from Plato: one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. But yes, it also plays quite nicely into that even shorter quote of, you might not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you. I can tell you from personal experience, it's insanely difficult to get on the ballot as an independent. Yeah. No, that is not a bug, that is a feature, because both Democrats and Republicans do not want the competition. They want to try and avoid any potential repeat of a situation like a Ross Perot coming in, or even Teddy Roosevelt coming in with the Bull Moose Party. They want to avoid that at all, if at all possible. They just don't want the competition.
And I increasingly find myself looking at Starmer and looking at the Labour front bench and looking at what's happened over the last 20 or 30 years, well, really since Tony Blair. And I think, how have the British people been hoodwinked by this system that basically serves them up a slate of people from parties that they don't respect, they don't like, they don't want to vote for. So these people have actually left voting. And as you know, in the last election, I think the turnout was only 59%. As I call it, Keir Starmer's landslip election victory. That's what it was. It's wafer thin, actually, if you dig. If 10%.
There's no mandate for Starmer. Never was.
In fact, I don't see how Labour can ever survive what's been happening again. I think this is the end of the Labour Party.
I've been saying exactly the same thing. People are saying, well, it's going to be rough. And I was saying...
It's over for Labour. Long term, they're cooked. Not just hoodwinked, but practically enslaved, yeah. Well, that's about what it feels like to be a British subject these days. Kind of makes me glad I've surrendered all claims to UK citizenship long ago, though not entirely by choice. I only have the one passport now, chat. I am strictly a US citizen. No dual citizenship yet.
This is the last Labour government we're ever going to see. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it is. I think this is the end of the Labour Party. They are a farce. Yeah. I mean, the people in Parliament are a farce. The MPs are a farce.
It's bad comedy.
How could you say that about David Lammy or Rachel Reeves?
Honestly, Carl, I went into Parliament thinking, I've been in business all my life. These people must be able, they must be bright, they must know something.
And he gets in there and is like, no, they're all blithering idiots. And you're quite welcome here, in my opinion. Well, thank you, Rusty. Thank you. I must say, I mean, you weren't here for it earlier, but I have gone completely and totally native. As in, I enjoy a good barbecue. I like to shoot guns, and I especially enjoy fast cars. Though I'm a bit put off by the loudness of muscle cars. I prefer something that can handle in the corners, that sort of thing. Must get a POV walk through a Buc-ee's. I've been to Buc-ee's a few times. I really have to be careful in there because the beef jerky is quite delicious. The barbecue sandwiches are delicious. Always served fresh and piping hot. And yeah, I don't know if any of you have tried the beaver nuggets before. I could swear those things are laced with crack cocaine. They are that addictive. So yeah, you find yourself in the Great Republic of Texas, or in the general tri-state area surrounding Texas. Pay a visit to your local Buc-ee's, and yeah, stock up on some beaver nuggets and some beef jerky. The fudge is sublime in its deliciousness, and but be careful because you will get a diabetic sugar foot from it if you eat enough of it. It is it's delicious, but it is very sweet. I'm fairly certain they still make it with butter and lard. It would not surprise me. The one thing that I do miss that I don't see on the shelves anymore at Buc-ee's, and I'm a bit disappointed by it, they used to have these ready-made, did not require any sort of refrigeration, processed venison sausage links. They sell them in the same sort of plastic bags as what you would find buying in bulk the beef jerky. And they were quite delicious. And the past few times I've been to Buc-ee's, I haven't seen them on the shelves, and I don't know if they make them anymore, which is a bit sad because it was quite delicious venison sausage. But they don't have it anymore, I guess. And so, a bit disappointed in that. I wish they'd bring that one back.
Let me tell you definitively, they know nothing. And these are the people making the decisions. These are the people who are trying to hold the civil service to account. Ministers are supposed to basically decide, and advisors advise. But if the ministers don't know what they're deciding about, they can't hold the other people to account. So
yeah, this has been a big problem with the British government for some time. Not only the runaway unaccountability of the Quangos, which I know the term has been popularized as a derogatory term for woke retards, thanks to my Oshi leaflet. But Quangos it's a British term basically for an NGO, a non-governmental organization. The UK government outsourcing a lot of their power and authority to these Quangos, which are unelected, unaccountable organizations, public-private partnerships that are carrying out what should be the duties of the British government. And then on top of that, you've had for a long time a runaway civil service. All of these Sir Humphrey Appleby types that are just doing whatever the fuck they want, and then the ministers get turned into bloody sock puppets that just parrot whatever the civil service want them to say, and then it just nothing ever gets done, or the wrong things get done. So that's what Quangos means. Heard that term tossed everywhere. No idea what it meant. Yeah, it's a British term for a non-governmental organization. That's the original meaning, but it has taken on a sort of second meaning of these sort of idiot, retarded woke types.
What our system has done is created this genetic pool of almost reverse Darwinism, where we have the weakest people making the biggest decisions. And gradually what's happened is the state has accreted power to the extent that it accounts for at least 50% of GDP if you take all the sort of indirect state bodies. And as one of my biggest donors observed, he said, the problem is, and he's a great guy. I said, he said, the problem is, and I'm going to quote him. I'm not going to say who he is, but I'm going to quote him because he's brilliant. And we're sending him the policy, because policy is our next plan. Big policy documents coming out on lots of stuff. Because I think we know how to rebuild the country if people believe in what we're doing. But he said, if you spend your own money when you go to a restaurant, you get value. If you spend somebody else's money, you probably get some value, but probably less value than if you're spending your own money. If you've got other people spending other people's money, which is what we have now with the state, you get no value. That's why you get deficient contracts.
Absolutely
like
not.
the Bibi Stockholm contract, which was presided over by Braverman, who was then Home Secretary, and Jenrick, who was, I think, Employment Minister at the time, Immigration Minister at the time.
Yeah, you don't care how much you're spending. You'll piss it all away. You're not going to get any value out of it because the other side that you're spending the money with, they know that it's other people's money. It doesn't matter. They're still going to get it anyway. So they have no incentive to provide quality or good service or, a decent product or whatever. And, then there is that lovely little chestnut that the Baroness Thatcher had so long ago, that the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. It was true back then. It's even more true today. If you think that's good, you should try our Bodine. Meat, rice, Cajun spices in a casing that looks like sausage. That sounds delicious. And I have developed quite the fondness for spiciness. I know that seems to go against everything that is fundamental to the identity of an Englishman. But I actually do really enjoy spicy food, like Tex-Mex and Cajun food. I mean, yeah, a nice warm bowl of tomato soup in the wintertime is good. Really warms your heart and soul, along with some good black tea with some spices to it. But that said, I have discovered one of the even more effective ways to keep oneself warm in the cold winter months is spicy food, particularly Tex-Mex and Cajun food. Cajun spices will really warm you up, and quickly, and they're quite good. If you ever come to Louisiana, the best Bodine, in my opinion, is from a place called Jerry Lee's. I've never heard of Jerry Lee's, though I have been through Louisiana a couple of times. Fairly long journey through some of those highways. Takes quite a bit to make your way through the state. But Jerry Lee's, I'll have to write that down. Not just warm, but the sinus is clear. Yes, that too. It is the one downside I've noticed to living in exile in America. Air quality is probably not as good in some places as it could be, and allergies are a thing, mainly because we've planted too many male trees and not enough female trees, because the male trees have bigger blooms and they are considered more aesthetically pleasing than female trees, and they pollinate a lot, and I mean a lot, and that all gets spread around in the air, and the pollination is, their form of reproducing. So, in effect, the reason everyone's allergies are in such a shitty way in certain parts of America is because the bloody male trees won't stop jizzing all over the place. There's your science lesson for the day. The more you know.
So, 1.5 billion given to some abstruse Bradford company. Honestly, Carl, what happens is what happens. It's fraud. Fraud creeps in. And what happens is the agents start to take money round the back, and you get the breakdown of a sort of Protestant ethic, which is what's founded Britain. And you get dishonesty on a grand scale. And I actually think that's what's happened in our judiciary, in our police, in our social services, in our NHS. I mean, the NHS is just a fraud. It's a complete fraud.
Can I
NHS is a death sentence for most anyone these days. I knew as soon as you said male trees, I knew you were going to make that joke. Yeah, the male trees, they won't stop gooning.
So I think people can see it. And what's exciting for me, and this is important, I've said I'll stand till 29. I'm going to give it till 29. So you're building the branch in Swindon, as you just disclosed, which is fantastic. We're seeing reflexively branches jumping up all across the country.
That's good. Carl, don't know if you ever will watch this, in VOD form or something like that. well done, but also don't fuck it up.
And in the same way, Carl, that I didn't go to the count, because that wasn't my result. That was the result of the 9 local councillors. And John Whedon also won the Borough Council by-election. So I actually would love to have been there, because actually being there for the victory is great. But I made a conscious decision. I said, no, if I'm there, everybody will want to talk to me. I don't want that. I want them talking to the people who won the election. I'm already the MP. I helped these people win their election. It's right.
You would never hear that out of Nigel Farage. He would be strolling through there wanting to make it all about him. And that's actually rather disgusting. And the fact that Rupert Lowe is just like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather it be about this bloke over here. Because they're the ones that are doing the work on the ground. I'm already the MP. I don't need any more of the spotlight. I'm good. I'm good, mate. That really is a good testament of his character. And says something quite positive about an ego that is kept in check. And he still carries with him a certain sense of humility. I like that. That's a really good quality, and quite a rare quality in politicians these days. Need to head out. Hope you have a great night. All right, Rusty, thank you so much. Hope you have a good night as well.
They should take the glory, because they did a lot of the work, and they were helped a lot by volunteers, as you say. But what our system and what Blair did this, he created a presidential system. Farage loves it. You know, all of these people, power accretes to one person. I don't want that. I want to devolve power, and that's what's so exciting about the branches.
He wants to decentralize power.
I want them
Mind
to
blown.
replicate it, work as hard, win the local elections, and then we're ready to table a full card of MPs who've got business experience, who are known in their locality, and the branches are a segue into selecting your candidate. And then when we go into the general election, Restore will stand everywhere. And if people don't want that, that's fine. I'm a Democrat, I accept that. But I think they do want it. And I think if we can collectively deliver that formula, we're going to win the election. I've never felt so certain. People think I've gone completely potty.
No, I'm
Reform
very
accused
much...
me of having dementia. Maybe they were right. But I think we're going to win.
No, they weren't right.
You know...
And probably shouldn't have said that, if in all honesty. Yeah, that...
What? I was nervous about the Great Yarmouth elections, because, of course, this was the first great test of the system.
I was nervous about the count. We had to watch like hawks.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
But I've heard from people, you know, friends of the show who are on the ground, and they said when they opened up the boxes and you could just see the number, the stacks, they were like, we've won this. We know we've won it. And then after the first 3 came out, I tweeted out, I was like, oh my God, you've carried all before you. This has just been a roll. And then they all just kept coming and coming, and that was it. It was just so. Tell me about the.
We
campaign.
did that video. Did you see the little clip where we put Farage saying we probably get less than 1%?
I featured it myself.
1%,
yeah.
1%.
Even in Great Yarmouth.
Even in Great Yarmouth, and then we had you know, Sheila Oxtoby, the returning officer, reading out every result. Yeah. But look, my team, we took it very, very cautiously.
Only 1%.
We knew that in Caister, we had a fantastic candidate.
Classic example of someone having to eat crow, chat. You love to see it.
We had a fantastic candidate everywhere, but in Caister, we were particularly strong. There were literally Great Yarmouth first boards everywhere. And it was it's a fantastic place, Caister. It's where I actually, with my son, spent the entire day on election day in 24, talking to the good people of Caister, and we got a fantastic reception. They didn't know me then.
Right.
But we knew that in Caister, Daniel was probably going to get a hell of a vote. But until it had been announced, we did not comment on it. But once we'd done the clean sweep,
wise choice.
We weren't sure if we'd do it. Ashes, I said, you can halve every vote, and we'd have still done it.
Yeah.
So that shows you the margin by which we won. Now that's not us scrapping for Tory voters or scrapping for Reform voters or scrapping for Labour voters. I think the majority of those people, and we're going to do some analysis on the data, I think the majority of that is people who are coming back to politics.
It feels like something very new.
That's the excitement. That is the exciting thing, because we, I think, finally want to offer...
Well, it's not just people coming back to politics. People coming into politics for the first time. Niam is a sweet girl that I've collabed with on stream before. VOD's still available for that, by the way. And I do believe Action's got a highlight reel in the works for our collab. Had a lot of fun with her. She is a very public, die-hard supporter of Restore Britain. And she's a young one too. I believe she's in her early to mid-20s. Someone who has never really been politically active, from what I understand. I could be wrong about that. I'm sure she'll correct me at some point if I'm wrong about that. But didn't seem like she was the type that was politically active before recently. Knew a lot of things were going wrong in the UK and decided to speak up and be more vocal about it. Even as, you know, a small independent VTuber and streamer, but doing her part to spread the word and spread awareness about Restore Britain. And just, you know, God bless her for that, because this is a way forward, everyone. As I like to say, risking it for the biscuit. Perhaps so. Yes. No, taking a risk in her own right. I'm sure she's gotten plenty of hate. A lot of people being the usual dickheads that they are on the internet, and but she stays the course, steady as she goes, and tells everyone that she can. If you are in the UK and you are of legal voting age, vote Restore Britain. And it's wonderful to see. It's wonderful to see a young person like her getting involved in politics like that, and especially for the cause of Restore Britain. Pretty cool to see VTubers standing Restore Britain like that. Especially cute VTubers like her. Really sweet personality. Really fun to spend time with. Really enjoyed that collab. I hope we can do more in the future. But yeah, she deserves all the iron brews for that one. But yeah, lots more young people entering into politics. And for them, their first vote is more than likely going to be for Restore Britain. And I love that. I love to see that. Because, you know, typically, barring any sort of unforeseen circumstances or black swan events in their lives, they're typically going to remain with a party like Restore Britain. You know, it's you don't really hear, I don't think, quite often of people switching that often. You know, once they're in, they're in. And, you know, black swan events, I think, tend to make people sort of just exit politics, not be so involved. Again, could be wrong about that. I could be totally talking out of my arse, and feel free to correct me on that if I'm wrong. But no, this is an encouraging sign to see not only people who had exited politics and not really become involved for a long time, but also young people entering the fray and choosing to get involved and do what they can for the benefit of Restore Britain. Creamsicle, welcome in. What about Horse Orange events? I have no idea what you're talking about. You speak in riddles, sir.
British people, what they should have, which is a true democracy, which is based on real people representing real people. And that's what Great Yarmouth First was.
So can I tell you some of my experience so far organising in Swindon? Because I've had a very interesting experience. First off, the hunger for something like this has been remarkable.
Yes.
I mean, our first meeting was just
long overdue.
The young too.
Not just young, right? So what's really interesting is it's a complete cross section of the entire town. We've had young people, but
Multiversal end of the world phenomenons. Again, no idea what you're talking about, Creamsicle. No idea how that's even relevant.
we've had sort of people in their early 30s, and then we've had people of sort of my age, and then we've had people of your age, and it's a vast cross section of the entire thing, like an ice core of the entire town. But a lot of it is mums and dads who are professionals, or maybe they're small business owners.
But then again, you're asking questions like this to a streamer, and I am nothing if not retarded. So bear that in mind.
Myself, who are just very concerned about the state of the country. We are very, very concerned, saying, "Oh, hang on a second, this is not going the way that we thought it was going to go."
Well, look at the borrowing figures today. I've just been, as you know, waiting for sterling to collapse. I mean,
yeah.
Labour, the people don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
And it could lead to the collapse of sterling. There's a bond crisis, I believe, going on with the Bank of England. And it's getting bad. And I don't think enough people are talking about it, and certainly not enough people are ringing the alarm bells over it. Mainly because they got a Labour government, and, you know, a lot of people who write these sorts of things in the Financial Times, they're just say are Labour sympathisers, Labour partisans. It's not going well. This could end rather badly. I mean, it's bad enough that the UK is now poorer than the poorest state in the United States, which is the state of Mississippi. What a sad fall for the country that at one point was the wealthiest in the world and had an empire that spanned the world, on which the sun never set. Wonder what will happen when Restore gets power. Just hope what needs to be done can get done. Let's hope so, because they're running out of time. And I suppose we'll find out around 2028, 2029, when, you know, the limits of certain terms hit and a general election is kind of foisted upon the British public. I think some people don't realize how many people are silent that are turning to this party. Yes, a sort of a British silent majority. We've heard of the American silent majority, and now it appears that a British silent majority are waking up, not being so silent anymore, and they're coming out in support for Restore Britain. Not just time, but patience. Yeah. It's one of those things where, you know, Starmer has got to go. He's absolute shit for the Prime Minister. Trouble is, Restore Britain needs time. They need this time to build up, to get the infrastructure going, to get things ready, and also time for reform to peter out, which it already is. You know, the people aren't showing up for reform anymore. Nigel Farage is not being taken as seriously anymore. You see him in recent speeches. He is a man who is tired and frustrated and not really understanding, why is this not all working out for me like it used to? And it's like, well, because people see through you now, Nigel. They know what you are. You're fake and gay. You're a fraud. You never meant anything that you said. This was all just a grift for you. Like so many fucking people in the supposed right wing of politics, instead of trying to save their people who are drowning, to save their country, which is drowning, they just build a moat around themselves, which is exactly what Nigel has done. This is a man who has gotten very rich off of donations, off of running multiple political parties, off of speaking engagements, off of cameo videos, which he will literally say just about anything for money, and also off of a, I believe, a now multi-million pounds per year television hosting gig on GB News. The man has become very rich on grifting about right-wing issues, and at the same time flip-flopping and saying he will be to the left of Labour when it comes to migration. Whereas Rupert here has been consistent the whole time. He hasn't grifted, he doesn't need to grift. He's a successful businessman. He's retired and he's chosen to spend his retirement years as an MP serving his constituency where he lives, in Great Yarmouth. He doesn't need anyone to give him any sort of money. He doesn't need any sort of wealthy benefactors. He's his own man. He is probably one of the last self-made men in Britain. And he just says it straight with everyone that what they're doing, the agenda that Restore is going to enact, is going to be a difficult one. And the times are not going to get any easier anytime soon. We are in for some difficult times. He has said it himself when he announced the formation of Restore Britain as a political party, that what is coming is going to be very difficult, even dark days. But if we will endure them, if we will work through them and do the difficult things, we can come out of it better off than we were before. If we will make the sacrifices now, we will come out better than before, and Britain will be better than ever. That message is resonating with people. It's almost a Carter-esque messaging, the sort of thing that Jimmy Carter said in the late 70s. Back then, people didn't want to hear that, because they also knew they could do better, and they did eventually get better to a certain extent with the Reagan years. That's the same thing with the predecessors to Margaret Thatcher. You know, you had old Wilsons and whatnot. People knew they could do better, and they did get better to an extent. However flawed, things were better for everybody on both sides of the pond in the 80s. We can get back to that. We can get back to those good times once again. I don't think it's ever going to be on the level of excess that we saw in the 80s, but we can have some really good times once again. We don't have to keep living through lean years forever and ever. Lean years where the working class, the underclasses, the middle class have to endure the lean times whilst the elite get to live it up, and oftentimes at our expense. We can actually have good times for everyone. I think it's men like Rupert Lowe who can lead the charge for us to enjoy those good years, those years of plenty, and years of plenty without necessarily years of excess. I don't think those years of excess are really ever going to come back. I've said it before that I think Gen X and millennials, first half of our lives, things were pretty good. Second half of our lives, those are going to be much humbler, leaner years. And Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, everyone who comes next, will, to an extent, only know lean years. But they don't have to be miserable lean years. They can be years of plenty. And they can be years of plenty without being years of excess. I don't think we'll be able to get back to years of excess. Those days are gone, but we can get back to years of plenty again. I don't know how that man still manages to hold on to the job. It's insanity. It is. It's quite difficult to be an elected MP, and especially be an honest elected MP, when you are... I mean, you go into the House of Commons, it's no exaggeration to say it is a literal den of vipers. And the way Rupert Lowe has survived all of that, I think is yet another testament to his strength and also to his character.
They've got this sort of myopic view. They've never done anything.
Yeah. But
you know, and how can you know the consequences of what you're doing? All these tax increases, national insurance increases, all the new laws, you know, the workers' rights and you know, these renters' rights acts. Honestly, Carl,
predictable
they are
consequences.
strangling real Britain, and that's what we've got to cut that Gordian knot. We've got to release the British people. But I know what we need to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Problem is, I have to have a mandate to do it.
But the thing is, I mean, like all of these economic proposals that they're making are all predictable and have been done, and we know what the consequences are. We know, for example, if you they are currently essentially punishing landlords, well, you're going to get a reduction in the number of properties that are available to rent, which is actually not good for people who need to rent properties.
I know people
who've
been kicked out of their houses ahead of this Renters' Rights Act, because
all with, I think, the overarching objective to just get so much of this property handed over to private equity, to the BlackRocks and Blackstones of the world. It's the same thing with farmland. They just want to gobble it all up and then proceed to jack up rents and meat prices and everything to just make everything so unaffordable, make everyone into a debt slave to them, just because they just want to live and they just want to eat. These are the sorts of excesses of global capitalism that need to be reined in. That sort of thing cannot go on, and capitalism must be made subservient and subordinate to the needs and national interest of the people, not just enriching a wealthy few or people who have certain stocks or certain mutual funds as part of their retirement accounts. We can no longer afford to keep prioritizing that or keep prioritizing short-term profit. It's killing us. It's killing us all. We have to make capitalism and the economy subservient to the people, once again, subservient to the national interest.
Otherwise, you can't get them out. They don't have to pay the rent. They can trash your house. I mean, it's just completely illogical.
It has the opposite effect of what they.
What really irritates me is, you know, I see these people in Parliament. What's happened is the left have been extremely underhand. As you know, the Fabians, we've talked about them before. The sort of, you know,
bastards,
the people who gradually have crept into every part of our society and undermined it through guile. You know, wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah. So effectively, what they've done is they've actually undermined accountability. and they've undermined the way in which our democracy works, and they've done it by design. And what's actually happened is finally, I think, decent people, and this is what's so exciting about what happened in Great Yarmouth, and this is the message I think everybody needs to take away from it, because you're not going to read about it in the newspapers. We're not going to hear about it on GB News, certainly. You know, that Greek lad who runs GB News seems to have become the Nigel Farage Broadcasting Corporation. Quite why Ofcom haven't intervened yet, I don't know, but I've not said anything to them, but maybe one day they'll wake up. But so
someone probably needs to say something to Ofcom. This is one of those instances where I think the government intervening in the form of Ofcom, having some words with GB News is warranted, because you simply cannot have a news outlet like that on public airwaves or cable and satellite in the United Kingdom when there's so few broadcasting choices. You cannot have them becoming a propaganda arm for reform. Okay, they still need to let in some alternative voices. And yes, they do need to start giving Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain airtime. Bandawaki, welcome in. Good evening. How are you doing?
It's so exciting, and I think people can take heart from this.
Let me tell you something that we've discovered. The first thing is people have got loads of great ideas. So we had the last branch meeting on Sunday, and people were just firing these superb ideas at me.
I know.
And so me and my team were like, yeah, great, write it all down. We're going to do it all. And we've got a really good WhatsApp group where we're coordinating. But one thing that we've been doing a lot of leafleting. So I've gone through about 30,000 leaflets so far with our activists.
Well, I think we've helped each branch from with some leaflets.
Oh yeah,
are you getting the support you need?
Oh yeah, we're getting the It was actually really strange. I can't remember the chap's name now, but I messaged him saying we're almost out of leaflets. Can we get some more? And it was
Scott.
Yeah, it was Scott. Yeah, it was.
It'll be either Scott or Liam.
No, it was Scott. And the next day they arrived, and we were blind. That was quick. But one
fantastic.
thing that we've noticed after talking to people in the local area, like for example, we've been organising in pubs, as is the traditional English way, right? And
oh yeah,
we were at one pub the other day. We had about 15 volunteers to go leafleting, which is a superb.
It's great.
And this is just in one ward, right? This is just in one ward. We have 15 volunteers to go leafleting, and one of the chaps was like, "Well, I'm in the pub now. Why don't I just start giving them out?" And afterwards, he'd gone around the pub giving out these leaflets, and he came back and said, everyone thought we were the Greens. But what does that tell you? That's the only people these folks have ever seen politically organising. And they were obviously relieved that we were.
Yeah, the Labour and the Tories and the Scottish Nationalists, the rest of them, they can't really be bothered, can they? The people who are getting organised and are taking it to the pubs and to the streets and trying to get the word out is the Greens and Restore. They're actually going to the people. Lamau, pay for the pubs. I know, right? Pay for the pubs on behalf of Restore. I don't know about the Greens. I mean, the Greens are doing a fairly decent job talking to the people. It's just that they're coming up with absolute shit ideas. And really, they are just... You might as well call them the Watermelon Party, because green on the outside, red on the inside. They ultimately are just another gang of communists that just need to be dropped from helicopters.
And there's been a constant refrain from all of these people that they've told us the same thing over and over. We thought it was too late. That's what everyone's been saying.
But Carl, this is what's so exciting, because when I stood for the referendum party, I had the similar thing. Okay, so you had real people who decided they were going to they believed in something and they were going to work for it. Because that's what we need.
Yes.
We can't do it as a little group of people. I say to my friends, you can't expect me to shoulder a lot of the cost and a lot of the aggro and a lot of the sort of stress, frankly, of doing this, because you carry a huge burden of responsibility. You've got the media sniping at you every 5 seconds, and I'm expecting another onslaught of media attack of.
And the media has been rather.
There's not much left to attack me on, but I'm sure they'll find something. So. If they come at me, Carl, tell everybody, shut your ears, because it's not true. Well, but they're going to get increasingly desperate.
They've been rather hands-off at the moment because they don't want to draw a lot of attention to you. But at some point, you're going to get the Zach Polanski treatment. I mean, I don't know what.
Well, I think one or two things will happen. Either that will happen, and I'm expecting that. I've already had an indication.
It absolutely will.
It might be about to start. But the other thing that happens, because I think the media have missed a big trick here. which is what makes me think that Nigel Farage probably is managed opposition. Because what we did in Great Yarmouth...
No, there's no... I will disagree in part with Rupert here. There's no might about it. He is controlled opposition. Always has been. And he's in the perfect position to be controlled opposition. This was a man who was nobody before he went over to EU Parliament, became an MP for the EU, spearheaded UKIP, then abandoned UKIP to lose, and then came back and turned it into Reform. I could be getting some of the details on the timeline wrong, but this is a man who has never made an honest living in his life. He's more than likely bankrolled by a lot of powerful people, and it really says something for the sorts of people that he pals around with and that he has drawn into Reform circles. People who are not ethnically English, Scottish, Welsh, or Irish even, letting just about anyone stand for election under the Reform Party that they have just can't be bothered to vet. People who are parts of the Brown Hordes, that I think some of them, they weren't even supposed to be in the country at the time. And the man's been paid a lot of money by a lot of powerful people to act as what Rupert calls managed opposition. There's no might about it, he is. And this shows with the people that they have accepted in to Reform as defectors from the Tories, and even from Labour. It's just the new uniparty, and apparently that was all it was ever going to be. It seems that they're just going to collapse the Tories and Labour. Everyone's going to roach out from both parties. People who even have a slim chance of getting elected are going to roach out towards Reform, and that's it. They'll just be the new uniparty. Well, both Labour and the Tories are finished. They're all going to go towards Reform. Meanwhile, the real ones, the ones that actually want to stop the managed decline and bring back the good years again, they're all going to restore Britain. The people who actually give a damn. That's how it's shaping up now. Reform being this sort of centrist uniparty of Labour and the Tories, Restore being the genuine right-wing party, and the Greens just being the communists. They're the new communist party in Britain. Everyone else, not even a blip on the radar anymore. I spy a Carl reaction. Was it time to join? Welcome in, Slider. Yeah, we're watching the interview between Carl Benjamin and Rupert Lowe, talking kind of a post-mortem about the victory in Great Yarmouth in the recent elections.
We have put a trail of blood in the water. That's what we've done.
I agree.
And as I said on Dan Wootton's show, in my opinion, Reform are now just warehousing Restore Britain's votes for them. Okay? Now, when there's blood in the water, sooner or later, a shark smells it. Now, why hasn't a shark smelt it already and highlighted the fact that this is arguably the Achilles heel of Reform? Because I think a lot of people find it difficult to believe in Nigel. You've got all this stuff now about,
Nigel doesn't even believe in Nigel at this point, I don't think. I'm American, but I've always tried to keep up with the UK because what happens there tends to come here. Little more than half Scottish, always wanted to go there. Oh, excellent. Yes, I myself am half English, half Scottish, with a tiny little bit of Irish, Welsh, and Scandinavian. But near complete thoroughbred of English and Scottish. Most of my family, though, from the north of England and from Scotland.
£5 million from Harborne. Well, what's that for? I've never been given £5 million. Nobody's ever offered it to me. And frankly, who gives £5 million without some quid pro quo on the other side of it?
Exactly.
And then there's these Ben Habib talking about £1 million here.
A cheque for £5 million sterling. I'm not going to turn it down right away. I'm going to think about it. Got a chunk of Welsh and the rest Scandinavian and Norse. Yeah.
Boris, £1 million there. Who knows? Now, I do think our systems become corrupt. I do think the judiciary is corrupt.
That's putting it mildly.
Police are corrupt. A lot of the lawyers are corrupt. A lot of the barristers are corrupt. I think the whole thing has become a scam. And the law, by the way, is something which needs to be dealt with. Because we talk about being under the rule of law. I don't think we have the rule of law anymore.
No.
We've got the rule of lawyers.
No, you're not.
We've got the rule of judges whose judgments are often completely off the wall and illogical.
Yeah, the tyranny of judges in robes and silly wigs.
And that's because the Supreme Court is no longer accountable to Parliament. It's effectively a quango.
Yeah.
And it's become a woke quango. And the judgments on some of these, Pakistani rapists and all this sort of stuff, it's just quite extraordinary. There should be one law for...
Now, there's, in addition to the Indians that have got to go, there's another one. All the bloody Pakis in Britain. They all have to go. There's no room for them. And why they have been allowed to continue to exist in Britain, I will never understand that. They all have to go back. I don't care if they are UK passport holders. I don't care if they have citizenship. We've already seen the UK government strip a native-born white British man of his citizenship because he's been over to Russia and is married to a Russian woman. So they've opened the door to this sort of thing. To me, I'm just looking at that as an opportunity that cannot be wasted and a chance to strip the citizenship away of masses of brown hordes that are within UK borders right now and ship them all off to wherever the fuck they came from.
And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what your upbringing is. If you perpetrate a crime, you are punished in an equal way for perpetrating that crime. And yet you read judges
What a
saying,
concept.
Oh, he was brought up in a different culture, he wouldn't understand. No, he's broken our laws.
Doesn't matter.
Sorry, can I get back to the campaign?
But honestly, this is so important. And this is why I think people are beginning to see it and respond to it.
I know. I'm really interested in how you did it on like a practical level in Great Yarmouth. Obviously, because I'm interested.
Well, my team was fantastic.
So what was like the daily experience?
Well, as you know, and I've urged everybody who's standing in a branch to get their social media up and running. Mm-hmm. Because in Great Yarmouth,
get the word out.
Obviously,
social media is one of the best ways to do it.
Nationally, which is...
And you have a sympathetic ear in the form of Elon Musk now that they can find a voice on X. Restore Britain can do quite well for themselves on X. Multiple accounts, all tweeting, on message, getting that word out. It can be done. How would that work if he had his citizenship revoked or you're just nationless? Well, if he doesn't have like a residency permit or something like that with Russia in the case of that poor bloke, then yes. Though I believe he does have at least some form of long-term or even permanent residency in Russia, lives in Russia with his Russian wife, and I believe they've also got children over there too. So yeah, and I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember from the story. But been a while since I've looked at that, and only kind of took a cursory look at it just because it's such a ridiculous story. The fact that we can strip people of their citizenship because they've been to a country that you don't like, it's ridiculous. And especially because you're married to a Russian national. It's like, and he's not, he was just a civilian. So anyways, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, my understanding of the story was that he was just civilian. I don't think he was in the military, wasn't a government official or anything like that. No access to sensitive intelligence or anything of that nature. He was just plain British bloke who happened to have fallen in love with and married a lovely Russian girl and had a family with her and decided, yeah, you know what, going to relocate to her country instead and have a go of it in Russia, build a life there. And for that, he got his UK citizenship stripped of him. Even though born and raised in the UK, government overreach sucks no matter what place you're at. Yeah.
Why, in some ways, I don't care if I don't get covered by the media. Because all that happens is if people want to follow what we're doing, they have to follow us on social media. So our social media just keeps growing, which is great. It's already bigger than most newspapers anyway.
Yeah, you don't really need the legacy media at this point.
And so I don't mind that, but get the social media working. Get people engaged, to your point. And I was going to tell you about the referendum party. So when we did it,
I mean, those of you, if you are watching right now, if you are in the UK, when is the last time you flipped on the BBC to, get your news, but even to just watch some of the programming, or ITV, or Sky, or Channel 4, any of those? When is the last time, or even to a certain extent GB News, when was the last time you flipped one of those on the telly and and watched it for any extended period of time, 15 minutes, half an hour, anything like that. When is the last time you got any of your news by, whenever if you have a car, or, maybe you were in a taxi or something like that, and when is the last time you got any news from, say, Radio 4 or the World Service, any of that? It's much like the situation here in America, where people don't turn to the mainstream outlets anymore. The ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs, or CNN, or MS Now, formerly MSNBC. And to a certain extent, especially with the younger generations, they're not even turning to Fox News. I mean, when was the last time anyone flipped on one of the 24-hour news networks? I haven't. I know my parents occasionally watch something on CBS, but they, other than that, it's just, they might be the evening news, but that's about it. And even then, if they miss it, they miss it. It's not a big deal to them. But we found a path out of that, Russian or not. I think he's going to be all right. Last I heard with that particular story, he's living there and has lived in Russia with his wife and children for many years now. So his home is kind of there. And Russia has been dealing with a lot of stateless persons like that. I mean, they offered asylum to the president of Syria and who was Edward Snowden, the leak of government secrets in America. Holy Man 556, welcome in. How do you Rex? You hanging in there? Yeah, doing all right. Only TV news I get when I'm at work. Even then, it's like 10% of my attention. Yeah, it's there and it's on, but nobody really pays much attention. It's just something that they keep on in the background. And at that rate, you might as well just, if it's a smart TV, you might as well flip over to YouTube and, watch something on a loop that plays lo-fi or something like that. Snowden, there's a name I haven't heard in ages, I know, right? Fox News is controlled op. Yes, it really is. Never really a reliable source of news out of all the so-called mainstream outlets. But all of them really are just a joke. Is pirate radio allowed in the UK, or maybe ham radio? I believe there are some amateur radio operators still in the UK. I don't know if I would imagine it's still it's a fairly niche hobby, much like in the United States. I'm assuming it's even in existence anymore. They might have just refused to renew anyone's licenses and never really became a thing. I know there's always been pirate radio stations all over the world for decades on. But I think with the advent of digital broadcasting, which is a big thing now in the United Kingdom and also in European Union countries, it's become much harder to have anything resembling a pirate radio station. That was something more that you would find in the analog days of radio. But so much of it in the UK and in the rest of Europe has gone digital. And to go digital, there's certain licensing and equipment involved, and I think a lot of the radios that are being sold now, I mean, if they do pick up reception, it's usually of digital broadcasts. I don't know how many people still listen to analog radio over there. Again, it's kind of an older generation sort of thing. And I don't know of many pirate radio stations that are still in existence today. It's become a fairly trivial matter of finding the sources of those broadcasts, and fairly easy to shut them down or to jam them entirely. Analog never died here. There's a resurgence lately. Well, that's good. That's good. I always suspected that radio, even though I'm not in radio anymore, would sort of enter this kind of niche hobbyist phase when all the big name companies had sort of petered out, to where you might see a revival of mum and pop operations, small independents popping up in small regions, rural areas, and just making niche content again. on the airwaves. I think we're slowly starting to enter into that era of radio broadcasting, but it is going to take some time for that to pick up because you still have big companies like, Odyssey and iHeartMedia, formerly Clear Channel, that still control a lot of the dial. Also, Salem Media on the right-wing and Christian talk part of the spectrum there. Probably going to see a revival of independent radio through the means of, like, the aging hippie types or hipster types. And then, of course, religious organizations using radio, like they always have, to evangelize. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but it was religious broadcasting networks like CBN that were some of the early pioneers in live streaming of linear television networks over the internet, when all the commercial networks and the for-profit networks were just, scoffing and laughing at the notion. You had religious outfits like CBN that gave it a go and even tried their hand at the first forms of non-linear, on-demand television programming being made available in media libraries on an app on devices like the Roku. This was at a time when even Netflix was still trying to figure that sort of thing out. Religious networks were already doing it, especially Christian networks. So they're the real pioneers. Not Netflix, not Amazon, not Crunchyroll, none of these other larger services. It's really the Christian community and the Christian community of broadcasters that were the real pioneers of that sort of thing, the ones that were willing to take a chance on something because there were just no players on the field. No one was even looking at it twice. It was only when the big outfits figured out a way to make money on it that all of a sudden it became this big, huge, popular thing. The Christian television networks were doing it before it was cool.
If people really care about something, so if Carl Benjamin says, I'm going to drop Rupert Lowe at Cirencester Station, and then he's going to leaflet the train between Cirencester and so-and-so is going to pick him up from Swindon. It worked like clockwork. Why? Because people weren't being told what to do. They were working it out at our committee. So I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that. Worked, ran on rails.
Well, that's exactly the experience.
And this is what I hope is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I hope it's going to happen.
Well, no, that's exactly what's happening now.
So get the social media going. You can communicate.
Yeah.
You just talked about WhatsApp groups. And actually it's easier now than it used to be because we've got the digital revolution, which allows us all to communicate much more effectively. It means we don't need to be brainwashed by, big media moguls who are lining their pockets by effectively driving media distribution as they want it driven, not as the truth should drive it. So I think that's the key. Then obviously the enthusiasm, Carl, you'll find will just explode, and that's what I call reflexive growth of our branches, and that's what we're seeing every day. And we've got fantastic people now springing up all over the country. You see them, they're holding up their boards, and
they're everywhere.
But I can't get around them all. I'm one man. I've got to fight the beast in Parliament. The beast is like the Hydra. You cut one head off, and about 6 sprout out behind it. So, we've got to do both. We have to win at local level, and we have to then win the general election in 29. That gives Britain a chance. It's not. I can't guarantee it. And I'm not promising a nirvana, but I'm pretty sure that if we then put in the necessary policies, which we're going to produce now, going to produce an economic paper that's pretty far down the line. I've been working on that with some very able people. We've got a policy document now coming out on net zero and reviving North Sea oil and gas.
Oh, excellent. What
lunacy is Ed Miliband perpetrating on the country?
Yeah, North Sea oil exploration, much needed. President Trump has been telling the UK government for some time now they need to start drilling again for oil. So all of this good. I think we're going to leave it here for now, just because I've been going off on multiple tangents. But let me copy the link there. I'll paste it into the chat for everybody.